You say, Andrew, that you don't even involve your wife in like what you say just goes, and it's not even a good discussion because you don't even want to, you don't care to deal with it.
That's not what I say.
Pretty much.
No. I just say if it is the case that I do that, right, she doesn't have a say. So when I feel inclined to do so, if necessary, she doesn't have a say.
Well,
doesn't mean I don't involve her in any decision making. That would be absurd.
Okay.
In fact, I need to consult with her on many, many, many different things because she runs the household. Okay. But who cares?
So then maybe I just saw like one clip
so
that...
Ultimately, the position just is, if I decide not to involve her, that's my choice and not her choice. And if I decide that we need to do something within the household that she may disagree with, that's ultimately my choice. Doesn't mean I don't involve her in any decision making.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you think every relationship should be like that, or is that just for you?
I think that if more relationships were run as a patriarchy where a woman submits, a man's the head of the household, that they would be a lot better for both people involved.
I think biblically speaking, what's going on in this country right now, part of the reason we're having so much fallout, even politically, is because there aren't enough male leaders and figureheads, and we need strong male leadership all around. So I don't disagree with your viewpoint. I think there's obviously exceptions, as you're kind of bringing up, like there should be female involvement in certain decisions, but I respect your view on that.
Problem is that people always want to make arguments from outliers. The kind of like... we're always looking at these small outliers and going, what about them? Well, we're not going to shape policy around outliers, right? We're not going to do that. We're not going to shape society around outliers. We're not going to do that. That would be really stupid. That would be the sacrifice of the whole for the few rather than the few for the whole. So that would make no sense. Like, you can imagine that there's some people who possibly... stop signs may affect negatively. I don't know. I'm sure that they're out there. I don't know how they're affected negatively by them, but I don't give a shit, right? Because we still need to have stop signs. So I ultimately don't care. I'm not going to be like, oh, well, let's go ahead and redo everything when it comes to, you stopping at an intersection because that affects your mental health.
Yeah,
Shit,
I
right?
agree with you. I think there is like a biological aspect to like relationships and like gender roles and all that. But I think that like in a relationship, like you should have the decision to, kind of have the dynamic that you want. Like if the woman wants to be the provider, I think that should be like an option, But like in general, I do think that biology plays a part, and that in general, men are more inclined to be the providers.
I agree that if a woman wants to be a provider, she should be a provider. I would just advise any man who is with a woman like that to get away from her. That's all. Like,
if a man is submissive enough and he wants that,
like,
why
I'm not going to say,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that they can't, right? That would be absurd. And maybe there's some guy out there who's like, oh, I just can't wait to simp for you, queen, or whatever. Whatever it is, fine. But my advice to men would be to get away from that woman. It's probably going to end very badly. And probably not the best idea.
Okay. Was there... I kind of want to just get everybody's disagreements before we dive into any of the particulars. So was there more?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Disagreements.
So I kind of like already kind of stated like my stance, but I do think that there is like a biological aspect to like gender norms and like, just gender roles in society in general. But I think that like in my relationship personally, like I would like to be like a trad wife. Like I want my husband to provide for me, but I understand that there are women who don't want that, and that's totally fine.
I've met 3.
Yeah.
But it seems like every time we reduce it, they would prefer to stay at home.
Yeah, and I don't know, like I think that I just think it's important for people who don't want to follow that route to have the option to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's basically all. And I do think another thing that was that I mentioned is that I do think that women have it a lot easier like in the dating realm. But I think that a lot of that comes with a lot of scrutiny as well, like from, like patriarchal ideals from society.
Okay.
Okay. And that's a dating topic you want to hit on. The women have it easier when it comes to dating.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we have that in the notes. Any disagreements?
Not really, no.
Okay, any dating topics you want to hit on?
Dating topics. No, I guess anything I could add is that there should be stop signs as a
Wait.
metaphorically, there should be stop signs in certain areas on the road, but I completely agree. Like, if somebody wants to be a trad wife, and it works out for the family, then that's cool. But it also like if somebody's going to be doing all of that work, like all the house cleaning and such, like they need to be provided for. And I think that
Let's definitely get back to that.
in society now, it's harder because, you know, things are so expensive for like every family unit to do that. Like typically women have to work too in the family. And I just would hope in a perfect world, nobody would be putting all of the responsibilities on one person in the family.
Maybe we can just jump in now. It seemed like, Andrew, you wanted to you had something on this. We can just jump in now.
Yeah, well, I just want to make sure I get the position down. So if the woman's staying at home, she should be provided for, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What does that look like?
It looks like taking care of the house, taking care of the meals.
No, her being provided for. What does that look like?
Oh, well, provided for financially, like
well, women will kind of often tell me that there's like a trope, right? They go, well, if I'm staying at home, I'm cooking and cleaning and taking care of the kids, basically, right? And I drive them to school, and when they have a toothache and when they're sick, I take care of them, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
I get all that. What's the expectation for being provided for, though? What does that look like?
having everything you need and never
well, what is that,
stressing
though?
out about it.
Everything, yeah, but what is that? When you say need, does that mean like a bowl of gruel a day because that sustains you?
No,
what does it look like?
Living happily, like being able to have all of the things that make somebody comfortable, you know.
Comfortable.
Like, yeah, to live in comfort, yeah.
Okay, so you think that if you're going to be a stay-at-home mom, you should live in comfort?
You should have the things you need and some of the things you want, yeah.
This really doesn't tell me anything. So you say you should have the things you need. Okay, need's a very subjective word, right? What do you need? You need to sleep, you need to drink water, you need to eat food.
You need gas, yeah.
Yeah, you need stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. You need those things. But when it comes to comfort, luxuries, things like that, what are the expectations there?
Have extra money, I guess. I mean, if somebody's not to be working and they don't have an income, so they're taking care of the house, right?
Okay, but like some girls expect all the bills paid plus their nails done and their hair done and like their upkeep. Is that what you're saying?
What are your expectations, in other words, for being provided for if you're staying at home?
If that's the agreement between the two.
Well,
then
what are your expectations?
Well, hang on. Before we get to me, can we finish on the inquiry here? I'm just curious. The statement is, I stay at home and should be provided for. I'm not disputing that. I'm just trying to figure out what that means. What does it mean I'm being provided for? Does that mean my food and board is taken care of and that's it? Or does that mean I get my hair and nails done X amount of weeks, I have my own account, he puts money in it, I get an allowance? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, like being able to have some extra spending money, I guess.
Okay, those are your expectations?
Yeah, being able to, like when you're working, you can buy bigger things, you know, like a car, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not a job to stay at home.
Should he buy you
it's
a
a
car?
Responsibility in a sense.
Yeah, should he buy you a car?
No. I mean,
Why
unless
not?
unless I need it and he's
okay.
working and can afford it, but
All right.
if I don't need it, then, or want it, I guess.
And it also differ from couple to couple.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out a standard, because the standard here was, if women stay home, she should be taken care of. It's not just her, right? It's just a woman in general, right? They stay. So I'm just trying to figure out what she thinks that means.
Be provided for financially in needs and wants.
And wants.
Yeah.
Also,
Well, where do we draw the line on wants?
I feel like I feel like a good comparison to make, and I hate to make this comparison, is like how you would like take care of your child, like kind of like buy them clothes, like buy them, you know, give them the funds to do that kind of stuff. And I feel like that's kind of
treat
like
your woman like a child?
No, I don't think you should treat her like a child. I think that you should, like, when it comes to like doing the necessary funds for them, I think that's a similar kind of like.
Yeah, but what is necessary? What does that mean?
Well, what do you think it means?
Well, I'm not making the claim.
I don't know.
Well, when you were
So
talking
I'm
about
not making the claim. So the thing is
necessary, I guess, would mean like if you want to talk about needs, like food, shelter, water,
yeah,
housing.
I get those. I grant all of those are needs.
And then I think that if a woman isn't working and she can't provide for herself, then the man should probably take care of everything else. I mean, there's
Oliver wants.
well, also hair and nails. Sometimes
I guess
the
what I'm
husband
getting
wants
at is
that.
like who ultimately makes the decision on who provides what if the man is
They
working.
make the decision together.
Yeah, what if they can't agree?
Then they shouldn't be together.
I
Oh,
agree,
great.
yeah. Or go to therapy.
Wow.
Find someone you're
Whoa,
compatible with.
You fixed it.
Simple fix.
Awesome. What if we can't agree? Then get the fuck out of here. Great. That's
Well,
awesome.
Well, no, but I think this should be discussed at the beginning of a relationship
Because
too.
people don't have things which come up in relationships they disagree about all the time, even after they've made an agreement.
Sure, but you can
before
mitigate
the relationship.
But you can
right?
mitigate the risks
How?
by speaking about it ahead of time. That
Sure.
doesn't mean that nothing will come up to change.
Right. So since we know that
so then how do we
there's
answer
gonna
this
be-
easily?
Well, here
we're
I'm not
accounting for a bunch
looking
of.
for an easy answer, right?
So then, are we discussing just the initial?
We're discussing all of
who's
it.
going to be happy
Hang
at
on.
the end of this?
Hang on, let me answer to this. We're discussing all of it. So let's
Okay.
start with this idea. You have children, right?
Yes.
Doesn't that change the dynamic in a relationship?
Maybe to some extent.
To everybody, it's going to change
in
the
regards
dynamic.
to like finances.
No, just in
general, yes,
behavior.
yes.
Just in behavior, period.
Yeah.
It's going to change the dynamic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you two have to agree about another life too, not just your own.
Yeah.
Right? So what I'm talking about is a threshold breaker. Where do we get to the threshold breaker? Where do we get to the point where, like, kind of tying it back to what you said earlier, Andrew, I can't believe you fucking monster that you don't let your wife have a say in anything. And it's like, well, okay, one, that would be absurd. But two, I'm giving you a great logical reason why right this second. What happens when we hit a threshold breaker? We can do one of two things. We can do what you do and destroy our entire family because you shouldn't be together.
That's not what I
Or-
was okay,
or
that's dramatic.
Perhaps.
drama.
Well, hang on. How is it dramatic? You said they shouldn't
No,
be together.
but I
That's
was,
dramatic.
No,
But why does it
speaking
have to
off
be
of
the
basis
man?
of first meeting? Not
Right.
like
So
once
this
you're
is
in a
so this is the
relationship.
question, right? You say why does
Yeah.
it have to be the man? Well, the woman staying at home. You're saying that you women have wants that are not necessities. I want things that aren't necessities. So who makes the determination she gets what she wants? Her? If she's relying on the money from the man?
I mean, that's actually fair if that relationship has that dynamic. I guess that would be, but I like, again, going back to like what I was saying before, like I think like this is like a relationship, like by relationship basis, like it depends on the relationship. Like for you, that might
yeah, we're
work.
entailing the relationship right now.
So
which
do you
is
want
the
us
woman
each
staying at
to
home.
answer individually?
Okay,
'Cause,
yes.
like,
So I agree in this
So
situation.
we're entailing the relationship right this second. We're saying in this relationship, the woman's staying at home. The man's providing not just for what her needs, but for her wants as well. So if he's providing for needs and wants, plus, like, for instance, she might have all sorts of frivolous shit he doesn't care about. Guarantee you, in fact, he does. Right? Okay, you're going to spend money on that frivolous shit, fine. Guarantee you that there's going to be plenty of things that a woman gets that he literally does not give a shit about. Right? That's not really even going to be up for debate. That's going to happen. So if that's the case, right, who's the threshold breaker? Who gets to be the ultimate symmetry breaker, the decision maker when the
what do
two
you,
people
if,
can't
he,
agree?
if he makes the money,
Yeah.
I think from the onset
it-
of a relationship,
you know.
if a woman's looking for something that's a lavish lifestyle, then she should be targeting a man who's going to provide that lifestyle, and you can't expect that out of somebody who is not living that life. So, like, if you're a blue-collar guy that might not be making as much as, you know, a Saudi prince, then if she wants a lavish lifestyle, then she should not be going for that blue-collar guy.
Yeah, while I agree that that's true, I think that this is scalable. So
he's saying like, what if he like loses income or something? Then how do you adjust? The point he's trying to get to is that if he makes the money, ultimately he gets to decide
But,
what
like-
it's spent on.
Yeah.
To
Wait, is
summarize.
that even?
Well, I mean, one, I would agree that yes, that's true. But also further, I take it one step forward and say you actually, because there's only two people who are in a relationship, right? Unless you're a fucking weirdo. But normally you have mommy and you have daddy, absent blue-haired Coomer gremlin. So ultimately, I would think since there's two, you guys are going to have a disagreement at some point. Somebody has to be the decider. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody has to be the one who breaks the symmetry, right? I don't see a way around that. I've never seen a way around it.
What if you had like a random
No, I
number
agree.
generator?
What's that?
What if you had like a random number generator and you like flipped a coin?
Yeah, okay, so let's say you flip the coin and you still disagree.
Well, you have to go whatever the coin flips.
You don't have to do shit, right?
Well, I mean, if that's the agreement,
Well,
you
then
do
you
have
can't
to
really
do it.
definitively debate this.
Yes, you
with
can.
so many
Definitively
variables.
defend. I'm sorry, wait a second. People don't change their mind all the time, constantly, consistently.
Well, if you're agreeing to flip a coin and whichever side it lands on, you go with that. Then if you go back on that agreement, then that relationship isn't going to work.
I suppose that two people could agree to flip a coin and wherever it goes, it goes. But I think that would be a really bad way to
Yeah,
decide
I agree, it
disagreements.
would
One,
be.
but two, I still think that would create more problems than it would help.
It would, but I also think like when you say that the man should make the decisions, like how do you have conversations with your wife then? Do you like tell her what you're going to do, or do you ask her first? Like,
Well, I think like
About-
any healthy relationship on planet Earth, we have discussions about what we want to do.
Okay, so you
why
take-
we want to do those
yeah.
things. However, right, if there's any impasse, I'm just going to decide. And there's many times.
can
where
you give me like an example of like a time where you had to put your foot down?
Oh yeah, it happens all the time, especially with raising kids.
Okay.
Right? All the time, nonstop, especially when it comes to discipline, things like that. And
Okay,
I'm like,
that's fair.
Okay, you want this to happen, I want that to happen. I don't fucking care. It's going to happen this way.
Okay. I see.
Very simple, right? Very easy. So
That
like
wasn't
that's
really an example, though, was it?
yeah, that's a great example. Discipline. I don't want discipline to happen, or I think maybe this is too harsh, or even this is too light. We have a disagreement on that. It's a perfect example of where, okay, I'll just be the symmetry breaker. Okay, ultimately, I'm going to make the choice. And I think that that's actually necessary.
Yeah. Honestly, I see, like I said, I don't think that it works in every relationship, but like for me personally, like I don't like making decisions, so I like having that in my relationship
I think
too.
when there's a
Like,
good balance of masculine and feminine energy, if the man leads, it allows women to sit in their feminine, and that's what we're so desperately missing right now in this country. Like, it's actually sad. I mean, I grew up with a single mother
Oh, no,
for
I
the
think
most
we got
part,
plenty of feminine
and
energy.
I think that for the most part,
From men.
Yes, I'm agreeing.
if we had
Not from women, but from men.
if we had more of strong relationships and nuclear family, then women wouldn't be forced as much to work on their own as much as they are, and they'd be able to rest more in their feminine. So I think it's kind of a
That's why I'm
co-joint
voting
issue.
for Kamala, to try to get back to that strong.
You mean fraudulent?
What do you
Fraudulent
mean?
femininity?
You don't like that I'm voting for Kamala?
Hey, to each their own. I'm not the
I
one
mean,
making the
she's-
vote.
are you actually?
He's
Okay,
got to be
I was
trolling.
like-
He's
Okay,
trolling.
no.
He's trolling.
All right, so clip it.
I was like, maybe there's some sort of like, I don't know, like reverse psychology or something in voting for her.
No. She said that
I knew.
She has, she like works for a senior Trump
Oh,
advisor.
yeah.
So I thought that would just
That makes sense,
introduce
yes.
like pressure for no particularly good reason. But anyway, so back to this. Yeah, I think this will always be the case. I think anytime you have two people, or what you'd say two consciousnesses, which come into contact, they necessarily try to dominate each other no matter what. No matter what. I don't care what the circumstance is. Something like that is occurring. So since I think something like that is always occurring, I don't think it's any different in a relationship. And one of the personalities is going to have to be dominant.
So
They're always going to have to be dominant.
my question is like, so what about like in like a lesbian relationship? Like, who do you think there's like the
Who
butch
cares? They all
or
get
whatever?
divorced. Who cares?
Well, I mean, like it's a question. Like they exist. Like, what do you think there?
Also, just I have an additional question. Also, in dwarf relationships, I'd like your comment on like that dynamic.
I think that one should wear shoes that lift them an inch, and then they got the advantage, right? Okay, so back to this in lesbian relationship, I don't care. They're outliers. So I just literally
That's
don't give a
fair.
shit.
I mean, like, so so you do agree that there are straight, like, heterosexual relationships where the woman is making the decision and that is healthy for that
I
relationship?
don't think it's usually healthy. There could be.
But there
I'm
are?
going to concede that logically there's going to be some.
Okay.
There has to be some relationship somewhere where some fucking simp loser is letting his woman tell him what to do.
I don't think it's that rare.
And he's totally okay with it. Like, I agree. No, it's not rare that they do it. It's rare that they're okay with it. That's what I think. I think that they would
yeah,
prefer
okay.
not to have that dynamic,
Understandable,
even if
yeah.
they have it. So
I think a lot
I
of
think
those
women-
relationships, they are not happy.
Yeah, like the women aren't happy either.
yeah,
'Cause
so
I did talk
okay,
to a guy like
perfect,
that, and it was
perfect. So I mean,
awful.
can I logically accept that such relationships occur? Of course, and that there's some asshole somewhere who just loves that shit. Yes, there's guys who like getting their balls stomped on. I know because I've had women on here who tell me that they paid them to do it. So clearly, there are insane lunatics all over the place who want crazy shit. But who cares? I'm not going to advocate towards any of that because that's definitely the exception to the norm, the exception to the regular. I think generally, right, if we were to take the whole into consideration, the kind of best family dynamic is cross-generational nuclear. And since it's either cross-generational or nuclear, that because you need a mom and a dad at home, that you're going to have to defer to the man because generally his job's to protect the family. And he's the one who can do that, is capable of, and the woman usually is not. And so since that's the case, I think he gets to be the symmetry breaker. That seems completely reason-based to me.
Are there any areas in your relationship where you do take your wife's advice? Because, for example, with my husband,
Take her advice all the time.
Okay, I just wanted. I mean, there are some.
It goes like
areas-
this. I'm like, honey, I'm about to troll these stupid-ass feminine. What do you think of this tweet?
I have a question for you.
happens every day.
Down.
What do you think like women's strengths are like compared to men?
Their strengths?
Yeah.
Well, in which way?
In every way, because I feel like a lot of the time, like
They
when
can have
we-
kids.
That's
Are you
not
serious?
necessarily.
Well, I was gonna say also earlier.
Yeah, I don't. Well, listen, I'm going to be totally honest with you, and we can
Like, why are you with your
by the
wife, for
way,
example?
we can debate this right now, and I'm going to enjoy it. So, here's my position: women can have children, men can't. Women are literally better at men than at nothing. Better than men, literally at nothing on planet Earth. However, men have women completely and totally beaten when it comes to force and the application of force.
Did you know that Einstein stopped making discoveries when he left his lady?
Do you know that Einstein was fucking he was fucking a cousin or some like a first cousin or
Probably.
something like this? I'm not kidding.
Wait, Einstein
Yeah.
stopped? No, but what was the claim?
He stopped making discoveries when he left his girlfriend or wife, or she left him.
It's actually debated that
Can we-
they were all hers,
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Oh.
Okay,
Yeah.
but women are also more nurturing and they're better
Yeah.
cared for.
Wait, when did Einstein meet his wife?
I don't know.
No. See,
Before his discoveries.
I used to
It's
think all of
verifiable
this
fact.
shit. I used to think just like you did, right? Well, surely women are more nurturing. And nope. The thing is that externally, the presentation that women are more nurturing, socially, this is much more acceptable that they present themselves as being more nurturing. That doesn't actually mean that they are. It just means that socially they present themselves as being so. I've never been convinced that women are more nurturing than men, ever. I think that they perhaps do it in a different way than men do, but I don't
Can
think
men breastfeed?
Well, how do you think men are
hang on.
nurturing?
So I already conceded.
Whoa.
Right? So two things. One, yes, men can lactate, just so you know. But two, right, you probably didn't know that, but yes, they can. That's the grossest shit ever, but yes.
But it has no sustenance.
Two,
Yeah.
to this point, I already conceded reproduction as being the only thing a woman can do that a man can't.
But you came from us, so how would
What does
you
that
guys
have to
be
do with
here
anything?
Without our reproduction?
I also came from the reproductive genetic material of my father. Or did you think that women unilaterally got pregnant? Do you think that they unilaterally get pregnant just on their own? They're asexual, snap their fingers and become pregnant, or does it require male genetic material?
Well, why do you disagree that women are more inherently nurturing?
Because when I look at the stats for abuse rates of children and things like this, I used to think all sorts of things. I used to think that men were far more likely to SA than women. It's not true. I used to think that...
Wait, what? Okay, what exact stat is that?
Yeah, well, actually, I can pull them all up. but-
I'd like to see it.
But
Yeah,
if
and I-
women
and I'm-
are
and
at
like,
home-
hang on 1 second, okay? This is going to come as a shocking stunner to you, but I'll actually logically demonstrate it. And then what I'm going to do when I'm out having a smoke, I will literally text these to Brian. He can pull them all up on screen so that you can see all of the studies, have them all prepared for this, just for this conversation, in case the day came where it came up. And today is that day.
Wait,
Now-
but
He's
like
been
what
waiting
kind
for
of
it.
essay? I'm asking. Is it like in general, or is it like a
Yes,
specific kind?
it's even penetrative essay. Yeah, isn't that amazing? So the thing is here's why this occurs. It's because of reporting. So I did not know this, but there's a reclassification for penetrative SA. So if men are not penetrated, it's not counted as SA. And that's insane. That's absolutely fucking insane. So they just completely don't count it. I couldn't believe it.
So how did they
I was
gather the
shocked.
data then?
Well, by self-reporting, same way they do with women. And so when they did all these studies with self-reports in colleges all over the place, they found out that men were reporting that they were essayed by women far more than women were reporting they were essayed by men.
What?
It's just that,
What was the
it's
study
just that
done
they
by?
didn't go and make, well, again, I'll pull them all up. I don't remember all of the authors off the top of my head. But yes, this was done and repeated multiple times. So no, I don't believe in this myth. I've never believed in the myth. And here, I can even logically show you. Do you agree with me that things that women consider to be SA are usually overlooked with men? An example of
Yes.
this. If you're at a party and I walked over to, at my age, an 18-year-old girl who was randomly on a couch and started rubbing her shoulders, you would be a fucking creep and essaying the girl, right?
Yeah.
Now take 40-year-old hot mom, comes over to 18-year-old boy on the couch, rubs his shoulders. Probably not a big deal.
I think there's
Hang on.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you concede that that's probably not a big deal?
Yeah, I don't
So
think
why
it's
is
a
one
big
essay
deal.
and one isn't?
No,
It's
I-
because of how it's reported.
No, I don't think that this kind of thing is a big deal. I think it's a difference in like when a man essays a woman, like, and I'm not, and like this is like in a vacuum necessarily. So like usually when we're talking about essay, like a man essaying a woman is like a lot more serious.
Why?
Like, well, I'm not talking about, it's hard to say that, like not a man essaying a woman is not more serious, but like, yeah.
So imagine if I was making this claim the other way.
No, I'm not saying.
Just envision
Well,
if I was
yeah,
making the claim the
yeah,
other way.
I would say that's
when
what-
a man essays a woman, that's not a big deal, right? Did you even
I'm just
imagine that?
No, I'm
that
just
happening?
talking about like women fear. Do you fear women?
Yes.
Whoa, wait. Can
Well,
you just
because-
repeat? Hold on. Repeat your claim.
No.
You said it was. I don't want to misquote you, but you said something along the lines of, "It's not as big of a deal."
No, that's not what I meant.
Okay. Well, what
really.
did you say? Just repeat what you said.
Okay, so can I rephrase it though?
Repeat what you said, then you can rephrase.
Okay, so I said it's when we're talking about essay, like a lot of the time it is not as like serious when we're talking about like, you know, like
When
like
women
in general.
do it.
Yeah.
Are you talking
Yeah.
about the method of abuse, like physically?
Well, not method. Yeah, that
Wait, does
has
this
to do
apply
with
to
it.
other forms of assault or violence?
Because
Well,
So
I
when
mean, it kind of goes into it because like you can physically abuse
so any
while
crime
you're
that
sexually.
occurs to a woman is more serious.
It's not
if it
more
occurs-
serious, but it usually impacts more harm. Yeah.
Okay,
by
so
a man.
Here, let me
yeah.
ask you this. So, if a woman if a woman is a victim of a crime, she is impacted more severely than a man.
Usually, yes, because men are biologically stronger.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Oh,
So-
sorry, okay, so if the chick is really buff,
Well, yeah, if a
that's an
girl is
outlier.
really buff and she beats her boyfriend's ass, then yeah, that's an
No,
anomaly.
So
like
a woman,
I
a
would
woman's
assure
really
you would
buff
agree.
and she gets
Wait,
beat up.
let me ask you this. So
That's going to be less impactful than if she was weak.
So if a man gets shot in the head and a woman gets shot in the head, is there a differential on the impact?
No, because they're not using force; they're using a gun.
That's
That
But
worse.
there
That
is
is
a
force.
differential if a woman gets punched in the
100%
face
force.
versus a man because women have less dense skulls. So
Right, but both men and women have the same capacity.
They just
to,
mad at us
to
'cause we're better
have
at
the
it?
Same injury.
Oh, okay. So do you think men are stronger than women?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so do you think men will hit harder than women?
Yeah.
Okay, so men will hit a woman harder than a woman will hit
Yeah,
a
but
man.
so what? If I were to get into a fight with a really weak guy who started shit, nobody would think twice if I smacked him in the
Yeah,
mouth.
but because that's an
because
anomaly.
his skull is less
No,
dense.
it's not an anomaly. Almost every time two men fight, one is significantly stronger than another.
Yeah, it's a generalization. Women
Yeah,
are
a generalization of what is standard. And so this idea
women
that
tend to get
because women happen
concussions
to
more
be
easily.
weaker than men,
There-
almost all men
she's
are
right
weaker
here,
than
okay.
other men.
It's
But
no.
women do tend to get concussions more easily. So
Here,
even if you're
Austin, just right here. She's right here.
if you're watching like MMA, for example, if you watch the women's fights, even between women on women, they finish much quicker than they do with men because they have less dense skulls, and so they are more susceptible to concussions earlier on as well.
Well, let us assume for a moment. Let us assume that men were far more likely to get concussions than women, but were far stronger than women in every other regard, which they are right now. And if they hit them anywhere else, it did way more damage. Okay? Wouldn't you still make the recommendation that because there's a force differential that men didn't hit women? Even if women hit men? Wouldn't you still make the same recommendation? Even if men could get...
Course.
Yeah, of course. So the concussion thing doesn't matter. Ultimately, it doesn't matter.
To clarify what
if
you
we're
were
talking
saying.
about the moral imperative, right? If a woman strikes a man, then she gets hit back. That's the way it works. That's what you get. You know what that does is it teaches women not to hit men.
There's a really good Bill Burr bit on that, by the way.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think anybody should be hitting anybody. I just think
that's
that
great.
There's usually a difference. Like,
I don't think anybody should get cancer,
Yeah.
But they're going to. And so the thing is like, since they're going to, I want to have some kind of reasonable policy and some type of reasonable social policy around how you deal with the fact that because it's going to happen. Women get really mad. They hit men for some reason socially unacceptable for men to hit them back. And the answer to this is, well, it's because they're weaker. And it's like, okay, but every time a man gets in a fight with another man, the other man is also weaker than him most of the time, right?
One of them is weaker than the other. Do you think that there should be battered men's shelters?
Well, what is a battered woman sheltered exactly?
A woman who was in a domestic violence relationship, and she's in a shelter for safety.
Yeah, I would give those to men for different things.
For different why?
Yeah, like false essay claims. Right?
But why wouldn't you give it for physical abuse?
He's too
why
rich.
Wouldn't you
They
give
should
it for
hide his
physical
identity.
Abuse,
What?
Why wouldn't you give it for physical abuse?
Well, I don't think it would be necessary to do so.
Why not?
Because generally speaking, I don't think most men would need that for physical damage.
Okay, so you think that women... Okay, so do you think that men are more physically abusive than women?
No.
So then why... So do you think battered women's shelter should be a thing?
It's fine. You can have a battered women's shelter if you want, I guess, yeah.
But men do cause a lot more damage, is what she's trying to say.
So what?
I think. Well,
you can't get mad at men because they're better at it.
No one's mad. I think she's just saying that women...
Think about like sports. Like you have different leagues for different like...
Yeah, unless somebody puts on a wig.
Well, it's a comparison. Like you have different leagues for different strengths, just like how women and men have different strengths.
Well, then I guess lightweights who take on heavyweights should have a battered men's shelter.
She's saying that
what do you want me to say?
When women are abused, physically abused, they are it's a lot more detrimental to their physical well-being and health.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I would say that physically, right? They could take the short end of the stick because they're less strong. Yes. But that does not mean it's more detrimental. That's where I would have...
well-being?
No, hang on. I just conceded that point. Literally just conceded that point.
Wait.
I would say that that doesn't mean that it's detrimental, though, over what's going on with the man.
Wait, Andrew, if I may point out, I do believe this is shifting the goalposts here because I believe your original claim was, even in the instance where let's assume that the damage caused by a woman onto a man and the damage caused by a man onto a woman, assuming the damage was totally equivalent, your position was still, even with equivalent damage done,
no, it wasn't.
That it's still worse for the woman.
No, I misspoke.
That was your position.
I misspoke then.
So this whole argument.
But I'm willing to just concede it because I don't think it has any merit, right?
That's not my position.
I'm going to assume this. In fact,
let me just. Oh, wait.
One second. Hang on.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to assume this, in fact, that every single time there's a confrontation between a man and a woman, which is physical, that the man's going to overwhelmingly win and the woman's going to get her ass kicked.
Yeah.
Okay? No matter what. In every single circumstance. So what? You hit a man, that's what happens. What's the problem here?
Weren't we talking about SA?
And what were we talking about before that?
Yeah, but I'd like an answer to
I'd like
an answer
I
to the
don't
question.
think that... Okay, I'm just saying... I think that like when there is a physical abuse situation, like if a woman ends up like punching her boyfriend, he is not necessarily going to need to like go to the hospital because he does. So it doesn't take a physical toll on him.
Yeah,
as
it
much.
takes a physical toll. You're just saying it takes a lesser one.
Yeah, it takes a
My
lesser
question
one.
to you is, what is actually wrong with? What is actually immoral about? What is actually problematic if a woman strikes a man for him to strike her back? What?
Honestly, I don't necessarily think there is
Right.
something wrong there.
Right. So then your whole point here makes no sense, because even if I concede the battered women's shelters, yes, they're going to lose every single time they get into a fight with a man. You've just conceded that
But
if
it's
they
a different
strike a
thing.
man,
If you're
it's perfectly
striking him
acceptable.
first, then it's different from him striking you first.
Yeah, but you and I agree that nobody should be striking anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
But we understand that there are women who do strike men. And if they
Yeah.
do that, you don't have anything morally to say about the man hitting her back. Nothing.
So, are you going to say that Cassie shouldn't have maybe pressed charges against Diddy?
For what?
Are we all in agreement that what Diddy did to Cassie was wrong, and that is SA? I mean, that's abuse. but
well,
it's
I don't
also,
know
Hold on,
exactly what the details here are.
Like,
well, because I feel like there's some
correlation
kind of
here.
discrepancy here, and it's not being accurately discussed that when a man hits a woman unprovoked without the woman hitting him, then that's wrong. And
Yeah,
just
but
like you're
we-
saying, no one should be hitting each
we
other.
both
I think
agree.
we probably all agree on that.
Yeah, we
so,
both agree.
I mean, he'd be able to do a lot more damage to Cassie than Cassie would have done to him.
Yeah, but so this is where the problem comes in, though, right? It's like, so what? Yes, I get it. The guy's going to do way more damage than the girl, right? But so what? The moral imperative seems like it's the same to me. It just seems like it's exactly the same thing. So it's like,
I
okay,
understand.
you're not.
So we were
you-
talking
it's-
about women being nurturing.
So it's like,
Well, yeah, I
it's
was
immoral
curious
for you to
I
hit
don't know if I
men,
can even keep up at this
right?
point.
It's immoral for you to hit men. It's immoral for men to hit you. Great. That's what we've
Yeah.
established.
Why don't you believe in like maternal instincts and women being more nurturing?
Well, I think they have maternal instincts, but
Doesn't that coincide with
Well, what does
nurturing?
nurturing mean here? Let's start with that. What does nurture mean?
I think being a natural caretaker, being inclined to take care of children and those in
Yeah,
need.
no, I dispute categorically. When I look at data for single fathers and single mothers, the single fathers seem to be excellent caretakers. The children live in cleaner houses, have better outcomes, go to prison less. They almost every outcome, every metric, they do better.
Do you think that's because usually when the father gets the child, it's because the mother was like a really bad mom? And the father is like way better?
No, I think that sometimes they just get them because the mom dies.
Yeah,
You know,
that's like,
it's
that's an
really-
outlier.
Why-
But we can make these comparisons like this, right? So you can follow widows. You can follow men whose wives have died, and then you can follow women whose husbands have died.
Okay, what
and you
stu-
can take
have
a
you
look,
done this,
And
though?
you can there's been tons of studies
Okay.
which have done this, and you can look at the comparisons, and you can see that the outcomes for single fathers in single father homes are better. And here's why. Here's the number one reason why. It's because of men. It's because of women bringing strange men in. They're usually far more likely, if they're not related to the child, to be abusive towards the child. Men who are raising children, they don't have that problem with women.
But this isn't talking about men and women. This is talking about single mothers and single fathers.
So then wouldn't that prove the point that men are more abusive? And I don't care either way, but just because you said earlier that you don't believe
No,
that
it
men are more
proves
abusive.
that men have a force doctrine which can make a deterrence that women can't. Not that they're more abusive, but that women are far less likely to, like, I don't know, do something bad to a man's child because he can really significantly hurt her badly. Right?
But is there a study with like mothers and fathers together that shows? Because like this study
Mothers
is
and
only
fathers
he is
together,
right
that
about the
shows
outcome
what?
of single dads.
well,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
but this
better.
is showing single mothers and single fathers. There might be other like,
Metrics?
yes, there might be like other outside
Yes,
factors
but
affecting that.
but here's what my argument was. My argument was, no, I'm not willing to concede that more nurturing, if our metric for more nurturing is, I don't know, kid's healthy, kid is clean, kid feels loved, kid feels safe. I feel like that's all things we would agree nurturing is.
Yeah,
and if
but
that,
then
hang on, and if that is the case, and the metrics for all these children is way better under all of those criteria, then how can I make the claim that women are more nurturing?
Because I think that those claims might kind of like mixed together with like your idea of what a man should be, because that's like, if a kid is fed, that's like providing. If a kid feels safe,
Feels
that's like
pretty
providing.
nurturing, yeah. Well, what the hell does nurturing mean to
Nurturing is like
Typically,
loved.
Women tend to put more.
What?
Loved, like
I can tell
You
you,
think
as
a
a
kid
mom,
feels loved when he's dirty?
No, it's not like,
what do you
no, it's
mean?
like words of affirmation. Think of love
I think
languages.
you're probably wrong there, though. Do the studies specifically say that the dads keep the kids more clean? Because if I am just guessing, and I do know that you're right about the stats on this, but if I was to guess the variables involved here, like women do tend to put more pressure on, like we're more neurotic. So we're like, they have to be perfectly clean, they have to be this, and that makes us more stressed, and maybe we're like more bitchy and less caretaking.
But it also creates multitasking, so you get less of it done, whereas men do singular tasks better. So the thing is I think that men, I think that their basics would be like, okay, you're fed, you're clean, right? You went to school, you didn't fuck up, it was a good day. Right? I really think that it's probably not going to be too much more complex than that. And by the way, it probably doesn't need to be more complex.
But do you think
than
that maybe like a woman's biological drive to be a caretaker, and like, because we definitely have more anxiety when it comes to things like that?
You may have more of a biological drive to be one, but what we're disputing is whether or not you're better at it.
Yeah.
My dispute here, again, I'll give you my position again. There is not one thing a woman can do that a man can't do equally as good, if not better, but there's multiple things that women cannot do that men can do much better.
So if men could have children, would you date men?
No.
So why? Okay, so then why are you dating women if the only thing they can do better is have children?
What did I
Well,
give
that's a
you?
biological attraction,
What
like,
did I
that's
give
not
you the
here.
criteria here for?
I'm asking you, like, you said that the only... Okay, so why are you with your wife, for example?
You mean the mother of my children?
Yeah, why are you with her?
Because she's the mother of my children and I love her.
Okay, why do you love her?
But for all sorts of different reasons.
Why? Give some examples.
Because she's super smart and she cares a lot about me and she thinks I'm wonderful and et cetera, et cetera,
Okay,
et cetera.
there you go.
There I go what? What are you talking about? How does this demonstrate that women are better at any of these tasks than men?
I can give you an example of women being more
Wait,
nurturing.
are you saying because she has all of those that I should feel like attracted to men if they have those?
Because why wouldn't you be with a man who's better?
Because I don't want to fuck men.
But why don't you want
Because
to?
they're fucking men. What do you mean?
Why not?
Because
You're not
I'm
attracted
not
to them.
a homosexual.
Yeah, you're not attracted to them, exactly. So the only thing that you think women are better at is having children. So you view
I'm sorry, you're right. There's
Yes.
two things. I guess women are also better at at men wanting to fuck them over other men.
Okay, so you
win.
So you view
Take the W.
Okay, no, you view your wife as inferior.
Inferior in many tasks, yes.
Inferior in everything but having kids.
Yeah, she's going to be better than me at having children.
And that's it.
But individually, that doesn't mean that individually women can't be better at some tasks than men. So, for instance, my wife's better at writing than I am, right? She has a book. I don't have a book. She's better at all sorts of things than I am. She's better at complex mathematics than me. She's better at music than I am, right? Sucks at all sorts of other things. This is the ultimate red herring you just gave, which is if your wife is better than you at some tasks, then this somehow equates, because at the individual level this is true, that you can demonstrate that there's tasks which women can generally do that men also cannot do just as well as them. You cannot do that.
I think that
It's fallacious argumentation.
That's fair. I think that men are very good and very bad at things. I think they're the best and the worst at things, and women kind of like fall in the middle. So it's kind of hard to like make that distinction.
So then you agree with me that there's nothing you can think of at all which women are better at than men, but there's things you can think of that men are better at than women?
I mean, I would have to honestly.
Is that what you just said?
Well, honestly, like I would have to think about that because I think that
Well, think about it. I'll give you time right now.
So back to the nurturing point,
Yeah.
if you look at divorce stats, when the other partner gets sick, the men leave their sick wives at insane rates. So with that, I mean, like you can't say that's more nurturing. Maybe not to a child, but to their partner.
Well,
In
also-
that regard, women are definitely.
Well, I'm
proven
not
to be more
familiar
nurturing.
with exactly what studies that you're looking at, right? And this could have something to do with how long they've been there. If there was, because women could be more likely, for instance, to conceal sicknesses. They could be more likely, for instance, to conceal certain things which have been going on, which led to certain sicknesses. So there's justification. I don't know because I'm not familiar with the stats that you're citing. There could be all sorts of reasons for this, which have nothing to do with nurturing, but have to do with justification.
Also, careers that
You should
lend
look it up and then
themselves
circle
to
back at some
nurturing.
point.
We should do that, and I'll take a look at the study. Sure.
Careers that lend themselves to nurturing and caretaking, like nursing and teaching, do have a much higher
No,
rate of female
hospital.
worker.
They do. I agree. Hospitals are absolutely begging for male nurses, and they're begging like you can't believe for them because they want physically strong men to be able to move patients
But why don't they choose to go into that if they're more nurturing?
because they can make a lot more money doing other things.
Okay, so they're not
And
passionate
they're not
about
very
being
interested
nurturing.
they're
Women
not
are okay. So why
particularly
don't
interested
Women
at
can
it.
make a lot of
Yeah,
money
women
doing
could
other
make-
things
What?
too, and they
no,
don't
no,
choose
see,
to.
see,
They
this
don't
is-
have a propensity.
Hang on.
For,
This is where we're going to have some disputes. No, they can't. They're not going to go do roofing. They're not going to go do trade
but-
work.
Okay,
They're not
but-
going to go be rocket ship engineers.
Yeah,
they're not
not
going to do any of that
laborers.
shit. They're going to do the exact same shit that they've been doing for 2,000 years, which is nursing, teaching, and serving your
they can go to
beverages.
medical school. They
Go to medical
any of
school
the
to be nurses
why don't they go to
Fertility
business
rates are
school?
going down in men.
Why don't they go to business school
because
instead
they're
of
not
doing nursing?
interested in having business.
There are higher
Okay,
rates
okay, but
of
they do.
graduation.
But why, okay,
I mean,
but why are they
but-
more
but they
interested
don't
in? Okay, I'm asking
really,
they do.
they're really not that
Why are
interested
they
in
more
it.
interested in nursing and teaching than in business and
because
STEM?
because there's an application of what can be done.
I think they also have a
Can
higher
be
propensity
done.
for nurturing
Yeah.
and caretaking.
No, I think it's a limitation on what is possible. What is possible for most women? I don't think
But
most
women
women.
are- it is
hang on, I'll
possible for
answer to
women to
this.
go into medical
I
school.
don't think most women can do roofing. Do you agree or
No,
disagree?
I don't think so.
Okay, you hang
But
on.
that's a
hang on,
specific
hang on.
example.
I don't think most women can be indoor electricians. I don't think most women can do that. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree.
I don't think most women can be plumbers.
But those are all labor jobs.
Yeah, so is nursing. Nursing's a labor job.
Side
No.
note, but
But
this is also
women
the
can
reason
go
for the
into
gender pay
STEM.
gap.
What's
And
that?
there are higher rates of graduation rates for women right now than
That's
there are for
always
men.
been the case, even since literally the dawn of the nation. It's always been the case that women had higher graduation rates. Always been the case that they have higher graduation rates. That's never not been the case.
But what I'm
because
saying is-
because physical labor is available to men. That's
But what
why.
I'm saying is they can go into careers that will be more lucrative.
They can, but they don't. They don't
because
want
they
to.
have a higher propensity for jobs that include nurturing.
Yeah, maybe
and
they want to
caretaking.
go into that because that's where they're wired to, but that still wouldn't
Okay, so
demonstrate.
that's where they're
hang on,
wired to.
But they still wouldn't demonstrate that they're more so X. So let us pretend for a second, let us assume for a second that we knew immediately that both of us were wired for the same exact amount of empathy. We knew this, right? But you were limited in what the scope was of jobs that you could or couldn't have, and I wasn't. So out of all the ones that you had, you went, oh, well, you know what? I'm pretty high up in empathy, so I think I'll be a nurse because I would really like to do that. I may also have really liked to do that, but I had all of these other jobs available to me to go do those instead, so I went and picked one of those that I liked even more than nursing. So the thing is like, even if that's true, in this comparison, it would not demonstrate at all that women are more nurturing because they choose the nursing. It wouldn't
I see what
demonstrate
you're saying.
that.
So you think that women have high nurturing compared to like intelligence, like their relative intelligence. Okay.
From their
Okay,
relative
that's
position.
fair
yeah.
enough.
Yeah, I think so, but I don't think that their capacity for it supersedes that of men. I've
Okay.
never thought this.
I will agree to disagree.
I've never
then.
thought. By the way.